Welcome back to another episode of Whiskey
and
Real Estate.
Hey, how y'all doing? I'm Tone. We got a little intro. I like it.
Yeah. Lucas Burrington, owner of Burrington Real Estate, AMMT Property Management, and the better looking half.
The better looking, the better thinking, the better talking.
Well, yeah, credit is given where credit is due. But,
I don't know about the talking.
yeah.
Oh man, we ended last episode with a little bit of fun. We're gonna start this one a little bit more peaceful, a little bit more about finding your peace, because we all work very hard, and we work with a lot of people that aren't always so pleasant and peaceful as we are. So before we get to that, in order to find our peace, sometimes takes a little bit of whiskey.
A little bit of whiskey with the real estate. So
what we got today?
So what's in our glasses right now that we tapped into was so we got the salt watermelon whiskey. This is that Ole Smoky, and we've already been hit up on multiple episodes saying, when are you going to kind of go through the whiskey tasting of the Ole Smoky? Ole Smoky has a huge line of flavored whiskey, and so this was the one that was recommended to us. The one that I had actually set up for us before it was recommended to us was the Jim Beam. Jim Beam's coming up with a flavored line as well. This is a black cherry. I'm a huge black cherry fan.
Really?
And I was in the store today and I saw it and I'm like, you know what? That's what's going to get. Okay. That's what we're going to roll with. So we haven't opened that one yet up. We haven't tasted that one. We haven't tasted the watermelon yet, but it is open and in our glasses. It smells like salted watermelon. I mean, it is. But again, it's that Ole Smoky Distillery, and that's in that Galesburg, Tennessee. Or Gatlinburg, Tennessee. Right. So it, again, part of that whiskey tour that we've been talking. We just got to do it.
Yep, got to pin it down. All right, let's take our first sips.
All right. So
great way to segue into today's market.
Yeah, so today's market is interesting. Inauguration happened. So the phone calls have definitely picked up again, just like it did the day after the election. But we got something counterproductive going on in today's market. We have negative 13-degree weather yesterday. It's been snowing all night and all morning today and all day today. It's 4:00 in the afternoon, so it is probably 4:30 now. But it is, yeah, definitely white outside. Everyone's canceled their showing appointments today. So, and that's basically, so our average temperature, like the last 6 days since our last showing, it has been like 5 degrees. So it's been a slow week. It's been a good closing month. With that, the market it's got a good head of steam right now. We sold 2 properties last night, so that was nice. So, it was one of those. Sold 2 last night, have another offer going right now. Another one of our agents, he popped a couple this last week. So the market's definitely picking up. Rates haven't seen too much inflection yet. We're one day after the president actually got inaugurated. So it's going to be an interesting next 30 days. But like I quoted you, one of our last episodes, we're going to see some instant impacts, in the first 10 days, first 2 weeks. So I'm very curious of what that all go to. But segue into, from our market to where we are right now, this episode's going to cover a lot of stuff that deals with the weather, and how it affects our job and how it affects you as a buyer/seller, how it affects property managers, how investors. I mean, this is very interesting right now, because right now we got to, and this is a great, what do they call those landmarks? Because Texas today, I was talking to one of my investors from Texas today. He has, they got like 10 inches of snow, and it's 10 degrees today. I got another investor that I talked to that is from Cali. Obviously they were dealing with a different weather thing.
Texas doesn't deal with snow or none of that well.
So, and they were saying,
Almost a foot.
Yeah, let's talk about that. I mean, so they gave a warning to him, and I was talking to Landon, if you listen to this, I'm talking about you. I was talking to him this morning, and like they tell them don't go outside if it starts snowing, whether it's 2 inches or whether it's
Yeah,
8
they
inches.
cancel everything.
Yes.
Atlanta's the same too.
Well, they have no snowplows. So like I was listening in New Orleans, Louisiana area, they also are getting drilled right now with some snow. And they shut down everything because they have to ask Arkansas to bring in some snowplows.
Wow.
So
And Arkansas is dealing with its own. So
yeah, and so fathom that, Iowa people that are watching this right now, that there is states out there that don't own a snowplow.
they
That-
shut down.
yeah, in the whole market, everyone is stuck,
Yeah.
stuck at home.
Well, it was about a year or two ago when Texas froze over.
Uh-huh.
And
Power grid went down.
yeah.
Yep.
What interests me the most about it, I mean, I got a brother out there, so obviously, that sucks.
Mhm.
But something that I didn't quite fathom or understand was the vehicles. Finding out that vehicles are just not weather tested because of where they're built and where they reside. Once it gets too cold, your whole vehicle could be totaled.
Right.
Like, do you know anything about that? Like,
Man, so if you've ever seen my hand, I'm missing half a finger, and I lost it because I was getting ready for moving snow for a snow company that we owned,
Mhm.
and last night I thought I was going to lose all of them because
Yeah.
I was my daughter's power steering pump froze.
Mm.
So here I am bringing it into this little garage, her car, and I got the space heater about the size of my arm that's trying to warm up this whole garage just so I can get her power steering pump. So I was working on it, and if you have ever seen on an Impala where the power steering pump is, it's on the back side of the motor. So you got to remove the top half, and then you got to weave in and out. I mean, and if the car's warm, you're burning everything because you're
Yep.
touching motor, you're touching everything, and the
Yep.
power steering pump fluid reservoir. This just ain't the pump. This is the
Nope.
reservoir. Just
Yep.
where you put the fluid
Yep.
is back and underneath, basically the back side of the motor. And
So yeah, you got all your fingers just somewhere.
yeah, man,
expands and stays going, man.
I can't feel anything.
You can't see very well.
No,
This is
it's
why
dark.
I paid $1,000 just like last month for some power steering crap that
Yeah.
he started talking about. Like, I'd never heard of a rack and pinion, and he's like, "Oh, you need
Yeah.
a new one." And I'm like, "Okay, how much is that?" Go to McGrath, it's $5K. How much can you do it? $1,000. I told you I had $300 to spend that I didn't want to spend.
Yeah.
So I see why you went in that garage and you went to figure it out.
Yeah.
It's like it's an expense that you don't even care for, and it's good that the girls have a dad that's gonna get out there and get his hands dirty, and we're gonna figure it out.
Oh Lord, it was cold. It's like, and the thing of it is you were thinking if you drive the car long enough, and keep in mind this is -16 at this time, so
Mhm.
you drive the car long enough, it's warm on the inside. It doesn't mean it's warm on the motor. It doesn't mean anything. I mean, and so I'm sitting there at Quick Start gas station and pumping up the tires too. I mean, talk about losing
Yep.
fingers trying to pump the air back in these tires too.
Man, they're
I was
just
like-
gonna go numb and just fall off at this point. -7, I think it was 2 nights ago.
Yeah. So I mean, it's one of those that, man, nothing's built for that cold.
Yeah. Nothing like, and not even us.
No.
Like, I don't get how people do this in Alaska. Like,
No.
why would you choose that?
No, I mean, everything's dead. I mean, everything dies when it's that cold. So I mean, there is no germs out there yet. There's people sick, and I don't get it. I'm like,
Who's alive to spread this?
Yeah, what germ is living in -16-degree weather? Like, you should step outside dead. Okay,
Yeah,
gone.
Yeah,
I feel great.
I walked across the street and like lost my breath coming back just because it was breathing in so much
Yeah.
coldness. Like, all right, so that we talk about vehicles, properties, and I can go to Texas and then segue to us today. But like houses in Texas where the pipes were freezing over and
Yep.
they have to get all new everything. Where does insurance stand on? We froze over. Is that act of God? Is that
It
your
can be.
insurance doesn't cover this?
Man, it's a gray area, that's for sure. It depends on your
Never
company.
want to hear that.
No.
When your agent said, "Oh, we're in a gray area."
Well, and we shot emails out to a lot of our tenants to let them know, when it gets this cold, keep your
Cabinet.
cabinets open to any exposed pipes, just so It's getting what heat is in the house onto them.
Nice.
Keep a slow drip in your sinks, so you don't got to worry about any pipes going if there's just a slow drip.
That just opened up a whole box for me. Property owners.
Yes, this is what I'm doing.
This is the worst.
So property owners, you want to talk about, when we talked about in the first two
man.
seasons, when there's going to be a storm, I know I got to free up the next 2 days
Yeah.
because it's just going to be calls after calls after calls.
Yeah.
I mean, so one of the properties that I own and that I personally own, I got a tenant living in it, and she's like, Lucas, it's 66 degrees in here. I have the thermostat turned all the way up to 90. I'm like, stop it. I'm like, it ain't gonna get to 90. I'm like, it is negative 16 out right now. If your house is 66 degrees and you got some warm air coming through your vents, you just pray, thank God, and say, all right, my heat's working. I'm like, because right now it is double the blanket up weather. I mean, there's 2-story houses, even older ranch houses. They cannot keep up with this right now.
Yeah.
And so I shot her a picture of Monika's house. We're at our other house, and I'm like, okay, see, it's set for 74. It is 65 degrees right now.
Yeah.
It's cold.
Yeah.
I mean, my legs are getting cold.
Well, thermostat's gonna tell you what the degrees is, not your
Yeah.
dream degree.
Exactly. So, and I mean, we have a fully functional furnace down there. I mean, I've had to go down and reset it. I check furnace filters. I've done all that just to make sure that we are getting warm air blowing.
Yeah.
And
upstairs to Chloe's room. Hot.
yeah, but you go upstairs, it is hot as heck. And
Heat rises.
Yep.
I learned that living in a top floor apartment. The summer gets
Yep.
beyond hot.
It does.
But I can retain heat better during the winter.
Well, and investors, it is something I would say on a 3-year process. Get your vents cleaned and cleaned out, because I think I'm dealing with it at the house I'm living at right now, which was a flip house that will go on the market here shortly. My basement stays really warm. Like, it's a finished basement, and it stays really warm in my basement at my house right now. And if I go upstairs, it's a good 4 degrees, 5 degrees difference. And usually it's the opposite way. The basement stays colder than the but I have more vents in the basement than I do have upstairs. And so when they finish the basement, they put like 2 extra vents in, and they're pumping straight down to the floor. So all the heat that's rising, it's pumping straight back down. And so I'm going to have to get my vents checked. I'm going to have to get them cleaned. I'm going to have to make sure there's nothing blocking stuff on the upstairs.
Yeah.
Plasticking windows is the thing of the time right now here in Iowa. So when people say they're plasticking windows, they ain't lying.
Yep.
And it's a great practice for investors. Go out there. You do not know how your tenants are going to treat your stuff, or if they're going to run your furnaces properly. What you can do is do your best and do some preventative stuff, like plastic your windows.
Yeah.
Monika's rental that she has right now, we put brand new windows in this last year.
Mm-hmm.
We're putting I got brand new set of windows sitting in my garage right now to go into another one. The gal I was just talking about has brand new windows. It's usually one of the first areas that is going to save you money, but also is going to be a lot easier for your mechanicals to keep up. So your furnace ain't working as hard. Your AC's not working as hard if you got newer windows.
Yeah.
And windows aren't that terribly expensive. So
Well, how do you deal with, all right, we're going to plastic all the windows, but the person's a smoker, or are most of your
you best
properties?
not be smoking
Don't
on
smoke
that
in
property
none of
anyways. No,
He said, "No, you bet not.
You better hold
best not
apart.
be smoking. Why are you complaining?
It's too cold to go outside.
It's the time to stop smoking.
Yep.
Perfect time to quit.
Yep.
Did you get your email from Monika?
Well, I had to double check to make
Perfect
it.
time to quit.
And it's a crazy thing is,
That's-
man, I had to ask my daughters if they were smokers. The first thing they did was rip down the plastic in their windows when they came into the house. I go, why? It's got too hot in here. I'm like, that's a good problem. You guys were complaining how cold and drafty it was.
Right.
I'm like, that's a good problem. My goodness gracious.
Oh man! All right, so that's cool that we got some tips. So plastic the windows, and that's property owners, people, house.
Yeah, you got older windows. Go do it. It's easy. It's better for your mechanicals. It shows your tenants you care.
Okay.
You're doing everything from your side of it to make it work. Because if a furnace goes out, that's not on that. It is on the property owner, but it's not something that they can prevent a lot of times.
Yeah. The other thing you mentioned, opening the cabinets that lead to pipes.
Open the cabinets that go to your pipes. Make sure
Okay.
those. Yeah, and slow drip from your sinks.
Okay, and then you mentioned the air filter. Is that something that's on the tenant or the property owner?
Both.
Okay.
So if you
Make sure you take ownership too. If hey man, this ain't working. What did you try?
Right. Well,
I know Manika's gonna ask you what you tried. Like she started laughing at me.
well, it's on the owner to give them a new furnace filter when they move in.
Okay.
So they should change the furnace filter when they move in, and then put the date on top of it. And that's crazy. Put the date on top. We talked about this like in season 1, because the reason is your AC and your furnace. If you're not getting cold air, it's usually because your furnace filter is blocked. It's nasty. Or if you're not getting warm air, same thing. Usually it's your furnace filter is nasty. If you got pets, it gets nastier even quicker. You have any construction going on in your property, change it immediately. Because it's picking up all the dust and it's catching all the dust in those furnace filters. So, again, that's
how expensive are they? I don't remember.
Anywhere between $15 and $40, depending on the size.
Do you guys get pushback on who should buy it?
If you
go
are
ahead.
living in a house, you're responsible for your
Oh, yeah.
filter. If you're in an apartment, then go towards the owner.
You're cutting out a little bit, but yeah. House, your responsibility. Apartment, owner. Cool.
Yeah, so I mean, but those also make a huge difference of your dust levels in your property. So keep on top of that stuff, because I'm telling you, some of the nastiest stuff I've seen, Tone, is when we walk in, when someone moves out, or where someone says they can't get any warm air or cold air coming up, and I'm telling you, hazmat suit, like carry a fan with you to blow away from your face when you pull this thing out. Like you got wads of just stuff that shouldn't be there. That's like, okay, this furnace filter was white when it went in. This thing is now black, and it has got layers to it.
Oh no.
So yeah, but this time of year you got to stay on top of those, because if you make your furnace work that much harder, I mean, the opportunity for your investment to take a shit is right there, you know. So
yeah, and that's the other thing too. Like, obviously, think about the tenants, but let's say you're greedy. Think about your investment.
Yep,
Take care of that. That is important to make sure they are. I mean, it's getting done, and that's one of the few things. So that goes on the property management side when it comes to weather, like what we're facing today here in Iowa. Talk to me about buying, selling, closing
Oh, Lord.
under these kind of weather conditions.
Man, you know, there's always people looking for an excuse for something anyways, whether it's to walk away from a deal or a reason not to go out and see a property, or this is where your realtor once again takes the brunt of it, because, you know, properties are still selling, so people miss out on properties because I didn't want to go out today, it's too cold. Or I'm not coming to closing. Okay, we had a closing last week. Man, I'm telling you, you can't make this stuff up. So the closing was supposed to, first it took him like a month. He was completely out of date of range for his documents because he didn't sign his documents. Then he finds like, okay, I'm going to do this. He signs his documents. Thank God, as a buyer stuck on board. And then we get to closing. So closing happens. It's supposed to happen Friday. And he's like, yeah, I decided to go 4 hours away. I'm like, great, I'm coming. Where am I grabbing you at? And he's like, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, maybe I'm coming, maybe I'm not. I'm like, great. I needed some window time anyways. I'm on my way. Well, I am out here in Champaign right now, and I'm like, great. You know, pull it up on Google. It's 3 hours and 58 minutes away from me right now.
We need a little road trip.
Yeah, just tell me where you're gonna be. And the thing is, he don't need to leave there. I got the power. I got all of his documents. All he literally needs to do is take 5 minutes. Meet me at a gas station, sign. That's it. I'm driving 4 hours there, 4 hours back. So 8 hours for a 5-minute closing.
Yep.
But there's a commission check on one side. He also has a significant amount of money coming to him on his closing. Yeah. And we still have a buyer. If we don't perform, they can sue.
Lose that. Yeah.
They can sue because we decided to go take off and run away because we're unsure of something right now. Yeah. And so I'm like, all right, so I'm gonna meet you out there. I'm gonna be out there in 4 hours.
Yeah.
And he's like, man, but I'm not at a location. Just give me an address to meet you at. And he's like, but I'm not there. I'm like, okay. He's like, I'm all over the place out here in Champaign. I'm like, okay, all right. Just tell me where one place you're going to be because I will be there.
You're responding, you're screwed, bro. We're going to figure this out.
I'm on my way. I will be there.
The smart thing for you would have been to not respond. Otherwise, there's an opening to figure this out.
Well, it's funny you're that way because so over the weekend we get docs signed. Closing got moved to Tuesday because MLK Day was on Monday, so no one was doing any funding or working that day, and so crazy. The closings right away in the morning, and I spent most of that evening talking, getting signatures on his closing documents that I was going to go to Champaign to do, and it's like bouncing back and forth. Like, this is a great deal for him. Like, this is a great deal. Like, and he signs everything. He's like, all right, man, this is great. Blah, blah, blah. I got money. He calls me like at 10 o'clock in the morning. And closing was at 9. I'm like, I'm not answering this call until everything. I'm like, no, not going through this again.
Hey, I was just thinking. Stop doing that. Stop doing that.
This thing is done, closed, checks are already out. I'm like, nope, I'm not answering this phone call right now.
Oh, man.
No.
Because I felt like I might need to edit that out.
No, I did call it right back.
Thank you for bringing that.
Yes, I did. Everything was good. Checks were delivered. He was happy as a lark. But I'm just like, man. But it took everything in my power to pick that phone up.
Yeah. Here we go. So, like, I know you've been in situations where, like, you guys all need to show up to a closing. I mean, how many people does it take to actually perform a closing? And what happens when just one of those people can't be present?
Oh Lord, it can screw up everything. So, and we ran into it where we've been at the closing table, and let's say there's 2 buyers. One buyer's like, okay, I'm just going to sign everything. No, buyer number 2 still on the loan on the mortgage, so they need to be here too. If they're not there, we can't close. I mean, it's that simple.
Oh, you mentioned last week it was a baby mama that signed. He signed a birth certificate and the kid wasn't his. But...
Yeah, we had it and found out at the closing table that the buyer was married and she thought she was separated, meaning, but there was no divorce filed. So she was still legally married to this. So she had to call him up and get him to come to closing, and
he came.
He showed up. I don't know why. Because he's essentially signing for that debt. Yep. So when you're signing this note, and you guys are not married, I'm going to tell you right now what Monica would do to me if my ex said, "Hey, you need to come sign this document right now because we're not doing it." And this means you're going to be taking on $180,000 worth of new debt until it's refied out of your name. I already know what that answer is. I'm not making that call.
Not even gonna have that argument.
No, that call's not done. I've been like, you're right. This thing's done for right now.
So yeah, with weather though, and all parties can't be present because it's a situation. Oh man, it's too snowy out. Do you have to pull the? I will drive to Champaign, Illinois to get this sign.
I would.
Are there more people that are like more determined to make it happen than others? Like, is that
you got your people who everything feels it needs to be catered to, and then you got your ones that are just eager as hell. Like, moving truck's already packed. This needs to happen at this time. Then you got the ones that are like,
it rained.
It rained today. Let's move this back a day or 2. It's not how this works.
No. There's so much at stake.
Well, you're in a legal binding contract that says we're closing on this day. So,
and all the work that goes into it, getting to that date. Like, this should be a date of celebration.
Well, that instance, I showed up at the closing, and this is one for that I was going to drive 8 hours for 5 minutes. And I showed up to closing the next morning, and I looked at the closer. I'm like, there was a little waiver on this. And she's like, there's no way. And she showed me the folder she had. I mean, it was like this big on this file because it was turned into being 2 different parcels instead of the one that was claimed. So we had to do a whole new abstract for we basically had to legally create a new property. Wow. So it turned into be a hell of a process. And, it's one of those, he could accrue. Let's just say he did walk there. Yeah. He's under a legal binding contract, so he has the right to perform. And if you don't perform, and you're not performing just because you're like, I don't want to. you could get sued. I mean, you're sued for damages, sued for expenses, sued for emotional. You could be sued for all different types of things.
Almost probably the price of the property. Like, hey,
if
we
not
could
more,
have sold this, if not more.
Yep.
Woo!
Yep.
And then end up without the property.
Yep.
That's crazy.
Yep. It's insane. I mean, and I explained all this to him, and I try to explain every transaction I get into. You are in a legal binding contract right now.
Yeah.
So just getting up and walking away. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, and then I've been in it with I'm going through it right now. Realtors like, you know what? Your person didn't perform on the day of closing. I go, yeah, but we had an extension. Everyone agreed to this extension date.
Right.
Okay, so she's like, nah, we decided not to go. No, this is signed. Extension's
that sounded cute.
It's been granted. It's been granted. And
that's what's going to happen.
Yes. And now, well, we want the earnest money back. Why? Why do you want the earnest money? Tell me why you feel you deserve this earnest money. Well, your people didn't close on the date of closing. You're right. We agreed on an extension that this is going to be the closing date.
Mm-hmm.
So if something of God's human nature happens and it does not close, they do get their earnest money back. If my people are just to say, nope, I just want to go buy J Street instead of this property, they lose their earnest money. So I mean, there's reasons why. The earnest money is the handshake of the deal. I mean, and that is with the state law, you have to have it within, I think, 3 to 4 business days after the accepted offer.
I feel like we talked about earnest money in earlier seasons. What's like the lowest and the highest that you see? And I know you mentioned there could be items and stuff, but like cash wise, does it usually depend on
situation? It's all situational and market driven.
Okay.
So you get into California, you get into even Iowa City, it's 1% of the purchase price.
Okay.
You get into Cedar Rapids, like they must know Cedar Rapids has got some blue collar people because they're like, all right, $500. You good.
Yep.
You good because you'll get an Iowa City person that just had a cousin, a friend, or whatever that wanted to sell their house in Cedar Rapids. Mm-hmm. And you'll put an offer on them. They're like, we're countering your earnest money to be $3,500. I'm like, man, I've done 100 deals this year, and in Cedar Rapids.
That's the thing. Like, I don't know if the title's misleading, but like, it feels like earnest money is like not like contractually, like it's just what feels right. Not it shouldn't be a set number.
Yeah. It's usually a market driven number, and that's about it. But there is no set price because nationwide. You have to have something of monetary value exchanged within 4 to 5 business days after an accepted offer. Mm-hmm. So monetary, it could be a diamond ring. It could be a watch. Could be, I'm going to give away my daughter's $3,000, 4-wheeler, something like that. I don't know. Yeah. But all we ever see is cash or check or.
Because they could decline the earnest money, right?
Well, they can tell counter. They can counter the earnest money.
But it's earnest money.
It is. And I mean, we always got to explain to it that if you do everything as planned throughout this process, we meet our deadlines, we close on time, that earnest money comes back to you. Yeah. So you are popping out $500 or $1,000 or $1,500 right now, but you do get that back at closing, whether it's a credit on your loan or whether it's a check back to you, whatever you and your banker decides upon.
Yeah. It's just a show of good faith that, hey, I'm serious.
It's the handshake of the deal is what I call it.
I like that.
It's the handshake of the deal. But with that being said, it's also an area that is probably fought over the most this last couple of years.
What? Yeah. What? Why?
Because there has been a lot of deals that have fallen apart for various reasons. And so who gets that earnest money is, so the steps of deciding that is the brokers talk amongst each other, from broker to broker. Then we try to have a mediation. So we have a moment where we try to get everyone is like, hey, you know what? Come on. You failed to perform. This is the reason why. It's bullshit. So you lied about your income, your pre-approval. So I'm dealing with that right now. I had a person lie about their income and they get turned down on a damn loan. And now they want their earnest money back. And the seller's like, hell no, you lied on your application that got you this pre-approval for this property.
Man.
Well, and so during that process we're not lawyers, Tone. I'm not a lawyer.
Right. You don't have 8 years of law school. I feel like 20 years of experience though.
Yeah, I got that 15 years of hard knock lawyer school. I mean, being suing people. I mean, man, I can tell you what that judge is going to say in this situation, but
Right.
yet investors still want to fight about it. I'm like, man, you go get sued.
Mhm.
We've been there. We've all been there, but. The best takeaway that I can tell these other realtors, because they want to fight all the damn time and they want to fight with you, and it's like, man, we are not lawyers. If my person said, I represent the seller, if my seller says I want that earnest money, I'm going to put a request in for the earnest money.
Yep.
Your buyer saying no, you don't deserve it. You put the request back to me stating no, my buyers don't feel that. Okay, now let's let the lawyers handle it. That's where it goes. It's that simple.
Yeah,
I mean, it ain't. Well, Lucas, you're not fighting hard enough for them. What am I? I'm
not a lawyer.
I have no legal boundary to fight for you or
yeah.
against you. So
This was your opinion why you think you deserve it. They have an opinion that differs.
yeah,
y'all could have worked it out. You didn't. It was lawyers.
Yep. Man, and it's crazy. It's kind of like, and we talked about this before the episode started. I wanted to stress some communication issues. The communication that goes on, and not the level of communication, the appropriate way of communicating is terrifying in this business, because everything you're dealing with, and from the property management side, from the real estate transaction side, is you're dealing with someone's either retirement money, or you're dealing with someone's largest purchase of their career over their lifetime, and so there's so many emotions that go into this.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's crazy, because
the expectation of proper communication differs by the person you're communicating with,
in the generation of the person too.
Oh yeah, I didn't. Oh man,
the generation of the person.
Yeah. I'm sure there's people that only want to talk through text, and then there's people that only want to talk over the phone, and there's people that will use all kind of slang that you thought meant something else.
Oh Lord. Well, and you can't judge a temperature of the room through
a text message. Ever.
And we talked about that on our last episode. Me, sitting in my driveway talking to this realtor for 45 minutes to an hour, just trying to calm her down and asking her why is this a fight?
Yeah.
Why aren't we working together for the common ground?
Yep.
And she wouldn't pick up a phone to save her tail, but she would sure text. Or email and just blow everybody up. And I'm like, why are you throwing everyone under the bus? Your shade is not welcome.
Yep.
But then last night we were dealing with someone that she could barely text. She has very little computer skills. I had to go to the property just like it did for my first 10 years, where we had to get wet signatures on everything. Because the last 5 years it's been .loop and e-sign and DocuSign and so on and so forth, where it's all electronic signatures except for the main docs that are at closing and whatnot. So I'm talking to her over the phone. This is how you sign in. This is what you email you're receiving from me. This is so when you put you type here, it's actually going to be your initials on every red area you got to click on.
See, when you said generational, I thought about the younger generation's level of communication, but that older generation,
well, they're still old school. They still want the phone call.
You gotta
teach. you are teaching them on how today's world is done, and everything's online and so on and so forth. Then you get So if I was go like baby boomers down, so we go baby boomers. The baby boomers definitely want the conversation, the handshake, and the look in your eye type situation. They still got a little bit of. Some of them got some tech savviness coming to them. And then you get into the generation that falls underneath them, whatever generation that may be. You like my generation, I'm 43 years old. So in my generation, we are still very much, we're savvy on the tech side for the most part, but we still need to have that conversation.
Yep. You still want the handshake and look in the eye.
We
can get it done.
Yeah, we were the era still, like when we were 13, 14, 15 years old is when the internet came. 17 through 18, you finally got a cell phone.
Yep.
Cell phone was about the size of your forearm. It was, it was one of those that, and then you get into the generation underneath me, like that 35 to 28 or 25 range. Let's just go 28 to 35. That generation at 28 to 35. I mean, it is like you're dating their phone.
Yep.
You're not dating the person really, because I mean, every serious conversation is over a text message.
Yeah.
Any emotions that you got is over a text message. having a face-to-face conversation can be very difficult and uncomfortable for some situations.
Monica doesn't. Her facial expressions don't agree with all this. Continue.
Yeah, I mean, she's married to that phone too. I mean, it's like we could be driving and it's like, hey, let's enjoy the drive. Let's see what's going on. Let's go for a cruise. Let's relax. And it is.
That's me too. I'm sorry. I'm with you, Monica.
I mean, what do you want me to do?
Enjoy each other. Enjoy the outside. Enjoy.
I enjoy you. I listen to the music. I hold your hand, and I game on my phone.
We multitask.
So let's talk about holding a hand and texting. Hey, double negative right there. It doesn't happen. It's not happening. It's not like she's sitting here like this, going like this. No, it is. Yeah, I call bullshit. So I call bullshit. And I mean, it's no different than when you get into the household too, because it's crazy. Because with us and our kids, so we have 16, 14, 12, 9, 7, and. Yeah.
2.
Yes, 7 and 2. Yes. And so you got 16-year-old that, she's boyfriend driven. So it is secrecy. Let's go this way. Let's text on the phone.
Terrified.
Yeah. And she, so I've seen her through all the stages. And then you got the 14-year-old who is very still family oriented. We're cool still, we're still cool.
Yeah. Dad's still cool.
Dad's still cool. and she's on her phone, but she could care less if her phone's across the room.
Nice.
Then you get the 12-year-old doesn't leave the phone. Yeah. Like it is nothing but
it's
screen.
life or death.
Yeah, like
dying.
Taking your phone away.
No, for real.
Yeah.
No, that's the truth.
It's true.
Dying.
Man. Well, and the thing is, man, hilarious. The kid understands that Monica's a hawk. So Monica washes. She's got cameras everywhere. Like I'm checking baby dolls.
Yeah.
I'm checking baby dolls' eyes as I'm walking through. I'm just like, all right, I'm pretty sure that picture on the wall just turned at me. So we got our 12-year-old telling me he's got to drop his phone and go take out the trash. Why is there 2 grown adults in this house? He doesn't know there's a camera outside and we're listening to him just throwing a temper tantrum. I'm just like, man, I wouldn't have talked that way ever. I mean, like I would have got one word out, and by the time the second word come out, my dad would have been jumped over the railing, thrown me in the trash can, and taken me to the curb.
What's sad is like me, my brother, sister, RP, my grandma, like my closest person I love in my life. Mm-hmm. But we literally bond and laugh over the times we got whooped over the dumbest ever. So man. The way these kids are talking back, and what's crazy is like with my daughter, like, me and her just besties, like talking about everything. All I got to do is give her a look to straighten up. But her mom has FaceTimed me where this kid is like flipping upside down doing acrobatics.
I don't know who this kid is.
I was like, that ain't mine, bro. She never did that with me.
It's a difference. It's like they try to test you. And like I told them, I'm going to catch my first child abuse case with you. Like, I can see myself catching it with you. Like, I don't understand.
Oh, man.
Why do you play with me so much? Like, before, when we were out of town and he did the little whining over some, I don't even know what it was about, in the store. And I just, like, snatched him and just threw him in the
freeze-dry Skittles. It was over freeze-dry Skittles.
I'm like, oh, you're going to get my case messing with you.
Oh, man. You're like, I don't know whether to cheer Monica on when she gets in that mode or, like, Monica, I got you, Mari. Just watch out for a second. I'm like, I don't know. Mari come out to the kitchen last night after Monica showed him the video of him cussing and cursing and everything outside and everything. Monica was snatching his life away. Which was his phone. And I'm like, dude,
it's a game.
I go, she's crazy. You knew she was crazy.
Why
you playing,
man?
With her
like that? Why you think you can?
Why am I out? I'm in the kitchen right here. I'm putting away dishes. I'm like, all right, I'm cleaning the table because I'm afraid.
Exactly.
I'm afraid it's coming at me. Like I did something here, like because it is definitely like a overflowing cup with Monica, where it's like everyone's free game when she gets that way. It's like, oh shit, cat, watch out! Like get the cat in the next room. room because it's not safe here either.
So when somebody says why, everybody listen.
Oh, hey, yep, time to go. Gotta go. Yeah. Hey.
No, you didn't just say.
It's -9 outside, but I'm going.
I'm going to go ahead and take the trash out for a third time today.
Hey, Mari, just drop that trash out there because I got it. I'm coming.
Oh, man.
But yeah.
Talk about checking the weather.
Yeah. So you got your 12-year-old that he's living on this phone. You got the 9-year-old. She's kind of very similar to the 14-year-old because they've gone off that the iPad child stage to and there's now you got the I'm getting started in sports. I'm getting started in this. I'm getting started in this. So now they're the YouTube generation. That 7 to 10-year-old is like that YouTube.
TikTok.
Well, yeah, YouTube, TikTok, so on and so forth. So my 14 and 7-year-old, they're like best friends.
Yeah.
And because they're very similar, but they got the similar interests. They could care less if their phone's near them or not near them. What's that?
He's 9.
Yeah, the 9-year-old, excuse me. The 7-year-old is his nose is glued to the phone.
Why did the introduction start with
Man, so the 12-year-old and the 9-year-old, or the 12-year-old and the 7-year-old, and probably the 16-year-old. I haven't witnessed it in the 16-year-old, but I guarantee 2 car accidents because of her cell phone.
Oh, man.
I know for a fact one car accident from the cell phone.
Oh,
but I've watched the 7-year-old and 12-year-old run into mirrors, run into doors, fall down the stairs because they can't get their hand off the phone.
Man.
I've watched the 7-year-old slam the door on the 2-year-old in the car.
No.
Because he's not. Or this is okay. I've seen it where he slammed the car door and damn near decapitated the 2-year-old.
What?
And then I've seen on the other end of it where they leave all the doors wide open. I'm like getting out of the car. I'm like,
you're not even here.
I'm like, these car doors are still open.
Yeah.
Like what? And they're in the house.
Like normally I could be like, you had one job. That's not a job. That should be a reaction.
Yeah, that's a reaction.
reflex.
So, man, but that, and it's crazy that we compare 2-year-old, 7-year-old, 9-year-old, 12-year-old to 14-year-olds to 25, 35, 45, 55, 65-year-olds. That communication level that you need in real estate has not changed. Yeah. I mean, it hasn't changed. It's still the most important topic that is generated in the economy. It's still the biggest purchase of someone's life.
Yep.
It's still something that is very serious, and we got to make it serious. But the level of seriousness you have to be able to judge. So pick up a phone and call someone. I teach my staff a text message and the email is a follow up to a phone call.
Yep.
And half of them listen, half of them don't. But it's about that time. It's been 2 months. I probably need to re-stress that again.
Yeah.
And it's so necessary. The only one that might get a free ride, there might be 2 people that get a free ride for not making the phone call, is Tamra and Monika.
Is that because you don't want them on the phone with everybody?
Exactly. People have feelings.
People also had a bad day.
Yes.
The day you had a bad day.
Yes.
I can do a good email.
Yeah, just because Chat GPT is doing it for you. Like you would thought someone was getting.
I bet you can tell when it's a real Monika email and a Chat GPT has.
Man, you got to shut the door.
The reason we didn't do this was ABC.
Yeah. So
that was Chat GPT.
Yeah.
It's like, I know you're not emailing me again. That's Monika.
Yeah, well, and it's crazy because like I have to like stick my head out the door when I know she's doing Chat GPT to like, hey, everyone's good in here, because she's going off into this. How do you say this guy's a mother bleep, son of a buck? Why are you doing this again? And blah 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 blah. Oh, and please put that in there with no cuss words. And so she's
Make
just
it sound very professional.
Yeah, and Chat GPT comes back and says like, okay, yes, you're right. Hey, sorry, Mr. Tenant.
You weren't the most pleasant client.
Yes,
there are other words I will not use to describe you.
Yes, and it is. I see your disconcern on this situation, and I understand that this has been an issue for this. And
I would like to show you empathy toward your situation.
Yeah, so I mean, it is crazy just how communication in real estate is so important, but yet so scary.
Yeah.
And we do have the generation. So we do have the realtors right now that are on our team that we've trained that are, 20 to 25.
Yeah.
And I spend so much time apologizing to the other realtors for them not returning phone calls or for them just anything confrontational. They don't want to have a conversation about, and they rather just go ghost.
Yep.
It's like, man, you need to return this call, and I'm like copying this realtor on everything that I'm getting blown up by the other broker, by the other realtor, by the commission, by the state of Iowa. I'm like, man, just respond. Just give them an answer.
That's all you gotta do.
Just say,
it's
my bad. I lost a parent. I lost some shit. I don't make up an excuse of why you're not talking to them.
Yeah. Give them something. Something's always better than nothing, even when it's a bad excuse. At least you responded. Like, have some decency when it comes to that. I'm very non-confrontational when it comes to a lot of things, and it could be because we're so into devices and whatnot. But it's really, there's always a solution. So I don't feel the need to argue. Like, I'll argue with my kids' moms. Like, that's just, we don't agree on a lot. Like, those are necessary, fight the battles, save the energy. Don't fight everyone. But, when it comes to, like business disagreement, there's a solution. And there's also a train of thought that got you to feel this type of way where there is a disagreement. And the fact that empathy isn't shown as much today as it used to be. Like, I think that's one of the things that makes me so successful, and it also hurts me. I'm too reasonable. Like, dang, his grandma just died a third time. Like, that's got to be hard because I lost my grandma one time.
Right.
I don't know how he keep doing this, but I know I'll be a mess too. But I'm not gonna ever disregard whatever your validity of the excuses. In your mind, this is valid. And even if it is a lie, there is something else going on where you just couldn't do the action. And, if they come at me, I could easily throw that in their face, and I don't. I just, there's no point in bringing up something old. Let's only talk about the solution. We don't need to travel back to, hey, didn't your grandma die 5 times? Like, and you were late this time and that time? Like, let's just, hey, when can you have it? Like, okay, does it need to go this way? Okay, what have you tried to get there? Let's talk about progress versus staying on what the issue is. And it makes me non-confrontational. And obviously when situations arise, I will, but I just try to, I won't say avoid it at all costs, but like I keep it to a minimum, and that keeps my peace. And that way I'm not taking it out on other people.
Well, and the kicker to it is the level of communication has to be respected both ways, though, because, and I like the gal that's like 84 that I sold the house to last night. We stopped by, had to pick up the documents that we dropped off, and that left them as homework because she wanted to read every line and wet signature everything, and that's awesome. So I said, right now, just so you're aware, no news is good news. I go, so if we don't talk the next week or 2 weeks, that means this thing's moving. Everything's going smooth. My goal is to take the stress off you. So if we're in that mode, then I get the people that want to call every day. Like, man, I just talked to you 12 hours ago. There's nothing that's changed. And if there was, hey, have we got an offer yet? You're right. I'm sitting on this offer, and I'm not bringing it to you. I'm just not bringing it to you.
What is it? Legally 24 hours?
Well, offer you have to have presented at the earliest convenience, as soon as possible.
Oh, damn.
State law is, and you will, if you don't present that offer within a reasonable time manner, and that reasonable time manner better be your first available time. So again, Manika witnesses I do have clients that call every day. Give me an update today. Hey, there was a showing 4 hours ago. What do you know? I'm like, I'm waiting to hear back from the realtor, see how it was.
It's not worth your time. And until there's emotion, I'm not going to tell you every single time.
Well, no, they want an answer every single time.
And I'm like, I don't know.
3 times in one day and ask the same thing. It's like nothing changed.
Yeah, and it's like I've told them, I'm like, man, you listed your house right before Thanksgiving. You just had Christmas. It is -16 out there. I cannot create more traffic on this. I'm trying. We have open houses every weekend for you. We have this going on. We have this going on. I just shot a video here. I go, here's the number of likes. Here's the number of walkthroughs. Here's what it is. I can't make people.
We're doing the work. But there's, again, the theme of this episode is the weather. And you know, some people there's some people that do want it more. I was gonna also ask about that, how like maybe hungrier realtors will still be out here and still do a showing or whatnot. Or like people may lose their opportunity because they didn't come to a house because it snowed today. Have you dealt with that, or what's your advice on even weather like today?
I'm out showing today. You know,
What?
we're we
run around down.
yeah, we have we went over and took pictures of a house that got staged because we want to go live on the market tomorrow with it. So
Nice.
we followed up with the stager to make sure the stager didn't back out because of because of the weather. Stager came through, looks great. We drove all the way up to Center Point, got the property disclosure ready so I can get it over to the offer. We got accepted last night.
Yep.
You know, we've been to Menards once, we've been to Lowe's once. Go
Get her. Let's go.
But that's what it is. That's when bad weather hits, realtors need to be active. So realtors, when the weather gets like this, there's a possibility of flooded basements, frozen pipes, furnaces going out. If it's a vacant property and you don't check on it on the weekly or almost every other day when it's this cold out, you're failing. I mean, we went into 1010 10th Street last listing we had, you know, right as it started getting cold. We had to yank it off the market 2 weeks ago so they could put a brand new boiler in it. Thank God we were walking it on the weekly to almost every other day when it got really cold, because it was 39 to 44 degrees in that property. And that happened in one night. And it got all the way down there. And if we would have gone another day, all the pipes would have been froze, everything. Now it's got a new boiler. Yeah. He's going to do a little bit of repair work, and we're going to throw it back on the market after it's 30 days.
How long did it take to get that replaced?
You know, that was a couple days. So it took.
But imagine, it's coming together because you took it off the market for a couple weeks. Yep. It took a couple days to replace. Imagine someone seen it, fell in love, negotiations started, we're contractually binded into this, and then that happens.
So my tomorrow's and I called the owner today that I have 3 listings with, and thank God he's been to his properties already, because otherwise that's would have been our evening, is driving over to his 3 properties, because we got 2 of them under contract, and we have to make sure the furnaces are still working, making sure we don't have any frozen pipes, because you know that would be awful for them to go do their final walkthrough a day before closing, finding out that it's 37 degrees in here and we're walking away because we think the furnace is out. We have to be proactive as agents when weather gets bad.
And that's just bad for everybody. Like the seller that took it off the market because they had the experience now, because they're going to blame the realtor. Like we're
blamed for everything. We are blamed. I mean, I know when I'm going to get turned in or a lawsuit's coming my way, because, man, I had the state call me the other day, almost laughing when they called me. They're like, "We have to do this." And they're like, "You sold this house in 2016 to these people. They're claiming in 2024 now that they have a wet basement, that you're responsible for their foundation leaking and blah, blah." I'm like, man, they've been there 6 years plus. I'm like, this is insane. I had a friend I wouldn't call him a friend.
Not no more.
Not no more. who lived in this property. Man, and again, they called, and I had to talk to the state, and they're like, "Hey, did you sell this house 3 years ago to these people?" I sure did. Well, they're now getting mold in their bathroom. I'm like, all right, sorry. I mean,
man, that's crazy.
I'm like, what am I to do? What's the problem here? Well, they're saying now they think they might have a leak in one of their pipes now. I'm like, all right, so
they gonna fix the pipe.
I'm like, I sold this house 3-4 years ago to him. I'm like, I don't understand why this is my fault.
You are wasting my unlimited minutes right now.
And I want to make sure that you all aware, I am one of the most gracious guys you'll ever meet. Like, I will bend over backwards. I will pay for something that's my fault. I've lost so much money because I'm fixing other people's mistakes. There's a line. This has nothing to do with me. This is nothing to do with me right now. Like, I am so sorry. Like,
several years later, like
we had a guy call. So he bought the house in 2016. He lived there for 2 years. So he bought it on contract from this investor. So he lived there for 2 years, built a $50,000 garage out back, so on and so forth. Finally got approved to buy it outright with a bank. 2 years later, he took that, refinanced it, bought it. So now we're in 2018. 2020. So we're now in 2020. 2022 hits, he gets sick because when they put in the garage that there was a tile that broke, and now he's getting water in his basement. And so now we're in 2024 going into, now we're 2025, but in 2024 he calls and blames the realtor from 2016 because he's like, man, he should have told us that tile was there. Like, how in the hell are we supposed to know in the ground where it's at? And so I had to talk to the finance committee of the state of Iowa, and I'm like, man, I
did my inspection.
The dude lived there. The dude lived there for the last 8 years. He's lived there for 8 years. He's calling you now. They're like, Lucas, we're just doing our job, following up on a phone call. I'm like, the guy you need to talk to is either the guy that sold the property or the guy that was holding the contract. And then, but again, this guy lived here for 2 years before any of this took place. And then he lived there for an additional 2 years, got the financing on it. He built a $50,000 garage out there. He's the one that broke the tile when he built it. I'm like, man, come on.
Yeah, and what's crazy, like somebody like me, like when we bought our house, I forgot our agent's name like the day after. Like, but to get a call
wasn't Lucas.
8 years, 8 years later is crazy.
It is. It's crazy because B Moore, he's one of my good buddies, one of our agents. He called me. He's like, man, this guy you sold the house to 5 years ago wants to sell this house. He's pissed as hell right now because he had a retaining wall that fell down in the backyard. He's like, I'll list it for him, but you're getting cut in on this because you had nothing to do with this. I mean, I'm aware.
Yeah, I know.
I'm aware, but those are the things, like, I just can't imagine the people you don't hear from when something goes wrong with the house, that their first reaction is realtor's fault. Realtor's fault. I'm like, man.
But after closing, like, what more communication is really needed? Or required, or
none. I mean, I try to make it I try to do
we were friendly, but
30, 60 days. I'll try to make a shoot an email, shoot a phone call, remind them to do their property tax homestead agreement, and I try to stay in touch with or in front of my people as much as possible.
Yeah, I'm
not afraid of anything that we've ever done in the real estate world. We've been very good, very successful. We've taken care of a lot of people.
Yeah,
but you just can't make everyone happy. And that goes with that communication side of it. And, it's one of those, if you're doing your job, you're following up on the property, you're doing everything you can. Now, there's realtors that do this part-time. And we've talked about this in season 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of part-time realtors, and that's what gives a lot of these people the stigma. But then you get the realtors like myself and a couple other realtors that'll go above and beyond. So now the average agent
has been around for decades.
Yeah, but the average agent is getting killed because of those two end of the spectrums.
Yeah,
I'm like I got to look at some of my younger, like, dude, did you really do this for this person? Yes, but that is not your responsibility to worry about. This is how I handle it.
Yep.
You need to make sure that they're taken care of, communicated with properly, all the way to the time of closing, and make sure everyone's happy. Yep. I mean, it should be a win-win at the end of the game. If you're trying to sneak something through and you're trying to pull something over, it will get caught.
Yep.
I mean, so you can't dodge much in real estate. It will sneak up. It'll bite you. It'll find you. It'll be like, you put on that disclosure that there's a washer, there's not a washer. You're paying for that at closing.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, your communication has to be on point. But I'm telling you right now, man, it is just a weird world out there that we've dealt with this last year or two on the communication levels and the styles and how to communicate. I don't know the right answer.
It's one of those things you got to ABP. Always be pivoting.
Yes.
It will change. Right now it's the cell phone. Eventually it'll become just whatever the earpiece or whatever the
man, those guys we made fun of the last 2 years that walk around with the earpiece in their ear and they're like, what do I do now? I'm like, man, take that earpiece out. You look like a fool. Like my son David, I'm just like, man, really? You're going to sit here at your desk and you're going to sit here and type and talk and you look like an idiot, man. You look like a dang idiot. Now everyone's doing it. I'm just like, man, this is the world we came into. I'm like, all right. I got to change my ways.
Crazy times, crazy weather, good whiskey. That's our consistent.
That is our consistent. It is one of those things, man. It's I don't want to go back outside, so we didn't make this longer or whatever. Not. I'm like, it's cold.
We can find out if there was any Monica moments.
I don't have any Monica moments.
That's good. Lucas is
great.
Can I vouch?
Go on. Am I going to say this?
No, I'm not going there. No,
I had a very great morning.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It started out.
That's awesome. Glad to hear that.
And I went to my favorite breakfast.
The one in
Marion.
Marion?
Oh,
Yeah, our
What's it
favorite
called?
breakfast place.
Morning
Yep.
Story.
Yeah, that place was
Love
fire.
it.
Yep. Yeah, we went there. I was pissed. The cappuccino machine was broke.
Espresso.
Yep, it was broke. Man, I don't know.
They got it fixed.
I think I'm pregnant, man. I'm going through this stage
Oh my
of
God.
warm drink.
Oh, Lord.
I'm going through this warm drink period of caramel
You
and
need to stop.
no, I think I'm
You're
pregnant. I
getting the
got
cravings.
cravings. We went to watermelon whiskey today. I'm like, man, I'm craving a Zoe's pizza right now. So, I'm dying for a taco Zoe pizza right now. Like, man, I was dying for a cappuccino this morning. I'm dying for some whiskey
Like
right
he
now.
was literally throwing a tantrum.
No.
Man, I was upset.
He was so mad.
And the waitress is a good friend of ours, and she gets us every time. And I worked with her all through my career. Like, I worked with her all the way back at Best Buy in 2005.
Nice,
So
nice.
she's like, she knows Lucas, and she's like, you're going to kill me. And I'm like, here we go.
Yep.
You're right. It might happen. You might die today. I'm coming at you.
She's like, look at me. She goes, want your usual? Yep. Give it to me.
Yep.
Mine.
So yeah, Wednesdays are great, man. That's just kind of like I make sure I do my best to keep Monica happy on Wednesdays because it's our day.
It's best.
It's our day. It's our date day. Take your
Yeah.
date day. This is our date day. Like
gotta have it.
we had great morning, then we had a great morning breakfast that was more of a brunch than a breakfast, and we'll see how the rest of the day goes. I'm not making eye contact nor looking at her right now, so I am
He's like, I want to have a good, clean episode.
Yeah,
like
I
a
am,
referee.
man.
What's one of the things we talk about is finding your happy place. What is your happy place? Where do you go? What do you need? What comforts you in bad situations? Because obviously every day isn't a great day. Not just real estate wise, relationship wise. What
His
is the happy
recliner.
place? The recliner?
His
The-
recliner.
There's
It's gotta be his.
It-
He
it
probably
is.
will buy
It is
you
his.
your own if you don't have one already, but
No,
it's his.
I don't
You
want-
gotta go to his.
No.
So-
He has a recliner. He always has to just put his feet up and
Yeah, I mean, there's my happy place is, I mean, it depends on the time of year. Like, water's my happy place. Like, being on the water, like in a boat fishing, or just sitting by the water. Or just, I'm the guy that's floating around in the pool with the snorkel, cleaning the bottom of the pool. Leave me alone. Don't talk to me.
Yeah.
Just leave me alone.
Yeah.
And like, when I get my subtle time of space, clarity, and right now, this time of year, it's cold. So I like my recliner. Like, I cannot wait for the kids to go to bed and for me to be able to put my feet up and have my Gatorade or a drink of water or something and just chill out. Just let me listen to the news.
Yep.
Just let me watch some sports. Let me watch some mind-blowing, just mind-numbing stuff that is just blah. That's my happy pace. Right? Quiet, peace, tranquility. If I go home right now, the first thing I would do is go down, lay on the bed with nothing on, and just stare at a spot on the ceiling for a minute. Now, if my bathtub was up and running,
Literally.
I'd be in my bathtub just staring at the top of the ceiling. Just shh. Monica's like, let's have that. What about this? What about shh, shh,
Why
shh,
we
shh,
doing
shh,
that?
shh,
Not
shh.
right
No,
now.
He did
no,
that
no.
right
this
now.
morning
Not
in
right
the
now.
car.
Yeah,
I want to
absolutely.
ride in silence. Who wants to ride in silence? I went in from my car jamming,
That's
having a good time,
hilarious.
get in the car with
turn
him. He
it
go,
up.
let's be in silence. Who wants to be in silence?
Okay, so
That's
once again,
wild.
we're dealing with bad weather, so we're dealing with phone calls.
Mm-hmm.
So from the time my head literally, I'm woke up by the phone usually. So the time, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, whatever time that is, 6 o'clock, whatever time that is, when people start calling, and when I called Monica, I was like, all right, I'm gonna pick you up at the office. We'll meet at the office. I'll take you out for breakfast. We'll do whatever. Not. She's not there.
Bullshit.
So she's not there. So I'm like, all
Bullshit.
right, I'm gonna go do my running.
Okay.
You are not doing your running without me. I'm like, if you're coming, you're in my mode here. So
That is not how that
Once
went.
It's
once you enter
exactly
my
how-
domain,
It did not.
yeah, and so first thing she does is like, all right, pick me up at the office. I'm like, all right, I'm here. Come out. I'm not waiting any longer.
Yep.
she jumps into my car, cranks the radio up, and we're like, and starts singing. I'm like, girl, I'm glad you're in a good mood, but right now I am trying to.
Yeah,
I've been
I'm
on
focused.
7 straight phone calls. I just had a doctor's appointment. I'm doing this. I'm trying to collect my thoughts for the rest of the day. Just give me 5 minutes. And man, that was a fight right there. I'm just like, man,
This is the opposite of what I asked for.
I literally, when I
You're
poke her,
so
Tone,
extra.
this is so true. I picked her up, Tone. I made it to the stop sign from our office. I literally said, okay, I drove right back around the block and I dropped her off at the front door. We didn't make it 1 block. And I'm like, all right, you need to stay here. And she's like, I'm not getting out. I'm like, you're getting out whether I drag you out or not. I'm like, because if you're going to be in here, you're going to give me at least the next 5 minutes to clear my head, have a little bit of
I
silence.
just want some silence. I
So
said
I
you
could
had
plan-
2 hours.
No, but
I gave you your time. What the fuck? Why do I get designated about a time?
Right. But those 2 hours, I had five investors. I had a
worked my
doctor's
ass off.
appointment. You know, I didn't have a minute to
And
breathe.
then I compromised with you. I said, well, I won't sing and I won't blast the music, but can you hear it just a little bit? Like, boom, it's not loud. You can still think. And, you know.
So her compromise was not to get exited out of the vehicle because I was over it already. You know, it was one of
And then you
those.
drove, and I told you to drop me off.
Yeah,
And you said, it's too late.
yeah, we already in this.
We already in here.
Yeah. Now I got to worry about you being in 13-degree weather with snow going on, walking back to your car, which would be about a 2-mile walk. And no, I'm over this.
Not gonna
Right?
be that bad guy. You're not gonna
Yeah, you know.
set future Lucas up to fail.
Yeah, I'm like, you know what?
See, day 1.
Yeah.
How
I'm
do you-
22 days in. Day
How do-
1.
How does alone time work for you guys? What do you? How do you designate that?
I put kids out.
Well, no, I'm saying separate from each other too.
That's a great
Never
question.
Really, I don't know. I don't think we're away for long from each other.
Really?
Honestly,
No, not really. No, I
we work together pretty much. I guess when he goes let his dogs out. By the way, if anybody wants a dog,
That sounds
No.
like the shortest increment of time.
it is.
it's not.
And it's
What do you mean?
timed.
It's not.
It's timed.
It is not.
Okay.
Hey, and keep in mind, this is at 11:30 at night. Most people are sleeping, so I get this time at 11:30 at night, and she's like, "You better be home by 2." Because or you got 45 minutes. I'm like, no, I don't. I'm like, I'm in most of the
I'm a grown
time.
ass man.
Yeah.
I'm a grown man.
I can make my decisions.
Come on, are you kidding? I gave you until 11:30 at night. You are
got to
drooling on my
11:35.
chest already. Like I am like
You don't
squeezing
need
out.
me right now.
Yeah, I've done my job here. You out, KO'd right now.
Oh man.
I'll be back.
No.
So the time today where you thought you could just be in the car,
Chilling.
in your thoughts.
Man,
Hey, I'm gonna come with you.
man, it's a big
Oh,
gulp.
you need to stop.
It's a big gulp. I'm like, can't
All
wait.
right.
You are. Oh my god. Bullshit. Like what? Why?
She's like, you always want to be around me.
Baby,
He does.
I do. Baby, I love to miss you. I
And
love
I
to
think
miss
it
you.
adds to the intimacy when there's a little bit of separation.
You
separation.
do. Like,
And then I
get
can
to
bring
the
you my
office-
best self. You don't want to see me while I'm upset, while
I
I'm
get to the
stressing.
office
like,
before him. So this morning, for instance, we
Mhm.
left, parted ways. I said we'll meet up at the office.
Yep.
And yeah, I decided to go do my hair.
Okay.
And he calls. He goes, "Where are you?" I'm doing my hair.
Yeah.
I'm at the office. I came to pick you up so we can go so I can go to my appointment at X, Y, and Z. And I was like, well, I mean, go to your appointment. And he goes, I'm going to go here, and there. No, you can't go shopping without me.
You can't tell me to go and then not to go. This is where you can't win. I'm like, all
I saw
right.
it. It's on camera.
Yeah.
I saw that.
Yeah. I was like, man,
You can go to
she
your
told me to go.
appointment. Go
But
to your
you're only
appointment.
limited of where you can
What I
go.
love is
Why
she
would you
showed
go
that you
shopping?
were proactive too.
Yeah.
I'm baking you up. I already know you want to.
Yeah, I already
Why
know
would
you're
you
not
go
here.
shopping without
Like
me?
I didn't even park. When I called her, like, where are you at? You're not at the office. I just kept slowly driving by, knowing she wasn't there. Oh, I'm sorry, you missed this. I'm gone.
Who goes shopping without someone? Like,
How
let's be
dare you.
honest. Seriously.
But this is after she says, okay, go to your appointment, go do what you're going to do. I'm like, okay, I'm going to go do this and this and this. The hell you are. You're going to your doctor's appointment. That is it. You're going to your doctor's appointment. Well, I'd love to eat. I'd love to get something to eat.
You're not gonna eat without me.
If you, that's like a slap in the face for you to go to my place without me.
What if it's not your place?
It wasn't,
It
and I
is
wasn't going to go
to
there.
places you don't like.
Yeah, maybe I was
You can
just,
go.
maybe I was just going to stop at Quick Cigar and get a cappuccino,
You could have went there.
but nowhere else.
Quick stars allowed.
Yeah,
All right, write
yeah.
that on the list.
Man, I got to put this on my mirror.
Quick stars, okay. Oh man,
Yeah.
that was good, guys. That was fun.
Yes.
The weather. We're gonna play in the snow.
Yeah, go play in the snow. Communicate properly with your people.
The work doesn't stop,
It
no matter
doesn't,
what
no.
degrees it is,
No.
what's falling out the sky. The harder you go, even on the hardest days, always will produce results.
Always grind and grind away, man. Grind and grind away.
Always be pivoting.
Always.
Whiskey.
Whiskey and real estate, baby.
Oh, no, that's
You were
not
gonna
your
do
part.
that.
Yeah, I should have asked for permission.
Perfect way to end it.